Logan, how are you? I'm so excited to meet you and learn about all the amazing things that you're doing.
Yeah, I'm great. Thank you for asking. Thanks for having me on.
So, you're a young man that has
hmm
figured out a whole bunch of stuff, more so than the rest of us. It just seems like you've got some real grit and have figured out how to dabble in all kinds of different ventures. And where do you think that comes from?
I think that comes from a little bit of hardship in my childhood, adolescence area. So I was actually in high school. I was a massive drug dealer. I was addicted to pain pills. I ended up being handcuffed and shackled in the middle of the night one night and transported to a boys' home when I was 17 and had to stay there until the day that I turned 18. And unfortunately there, experienced, several different forms of abuse, physical, mental, all that stuff. This particular place ended up getting shut down a couple of years ago after a pretty thorough investigation. So I think that kind of, while I was there and, getting closer to my 18th birthday, I kind of just almost found like a Zen moment of, hey, I'm playing a game on the outside world that isn't winning, and everyone that goes down that path loses eventually, including myself. Had already lost in that game, and so I knew that I needed to make a change. I had, read some entrepreneurial books while I was there. Actually, one of them was The Art of the Deal by Donald Trump, and so I was like, man, I know that real estate is eventually something that I'm going to get into. I just didn't know obviously how to get into it then, but I pretty much just made a mental shift in my life of like that old way is a great way to lose, and I got to find the other way to win. And so I feel like just part of my background just kind of helped give me that grit and mental strength to push through the adversities of the business world.
Wow, that's incredible. y- you know, so you're 18, you're trying to figure out what's next. How do you
Yeah.
even begin?
Yeah, so when I was 18, I didn't really have many options because of my past. I mean, my grades were terrible. I had like a 17 on the ACT score. So college wasn't an option for me. So what I did was I actually ended up applying it's like a trade school slash college where, some people go there to get their associate's degree and all that. And my grades were actually so bad that I had to test into that college to even get in. But I ended up getting in, and I went to get my HVAC license. And so I got out of school, 2 years later, and I was a commercial HVAC tech. But I quickly realized that's not what I wanted to do. I can tell you this, I was never meant to work for anybody. That was very clear from day one. So
Well, it sounds like you had your first career in high school.
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I worked for myself then. So
Yeah.
yeah, but that pretty much led to me looking into real estate where I found wholesaling real estate. And when I was 21, I started my wholesaling company, quit my HVAC job after my first deal, and it was only 2,500 bucks, which I don't recommend to any of the listeners, by the way. Don't do that. That was really stupid of me. But that's how much I believed in myself, um, and how much I was willing to put my back against the wall. And from there, obviously it goes into a longer story, but I built that company to a nationwide company and actually did an exit on that company 3 years ago today. And that's when I started really buying real estate and getting heavy into the buying and holding investing side of real estate.
So tell me about wholesaling real estate. Tell me about your
Yeah.
first deal and what you mean by that.
Yeah. So wholesaling is basically, I call it flipping contracts because that's essentially what it is. So if we put it in layman's terms, if you have a house under contract for $100,000 and you sell it to another investor for 120,000, you get to keep that $20,000 split. So basically, you're putting a house under contract and you're selling your rights to that property to another investor. So wholesaling is pretty much the 1% of real estate because it's usually distressed real estate. it's underpriced, and it's got to be a super motivated seller. But my first deal I found actually from, it was like a mutual friend, because I was just telling everybody that I'm looking to get into real estate, and so, somewhere or another, someone reached out to me, said, "Hey, I have a house that I need to get out of. I just want what I have in it." And it was like $30,000 that he had into it. And I actually sold his house contract, or wholesaled his house contract for deed, which is a creative finance way of doing things, which was super interesting that that was my first deal, because back then I had no idea what I was doing. Luckily, the buyer was a seasoned investor, and he actually helped me write up the contract, and he was kind of poking fun at me along the way. He's like, "Man, you just kind of stumbled upon this." And I was like, "Yeah, but I don't care. I'm willing to figure it out. And so, yeah, I ended up doing that. He cut me a check for 2,500 at closing. And then I just, snowballed that into my next deals, and actually ended up luckily creating a successful company out of it.
Wow, that's really incredible. So you sold that company. When did you say you sold that company?
About 3 years ago. So I
Okay.
was 23.
So tell me a little bit about what you're doing now.
Yeah. So now, I buy real estate, commercial and single family is pretty much my bread and butter. I like industrial. I like mobile home parks. And then we do a lot of single family where we buy them, fix them up, refinance, and we sell the majority of them on contract for deed.
Oh,
And I also own a VA agency, which what we do is we help businesses scale by showing them how to use VAs and how to implement them into their companies, whether it's real estate or any company. We work with all kinds of companies: lawn care, social media companies, obviously real estate, pretty much anything you can think of, lawyers. We work with a little bit of everybody. And what we do is we actually right now we have over 180 applicants of talent every single day looking for work. So our talent pool is massive, and we basically interview companies and figure out a strategy of their best implementation. They get to interview these people, and they get to bring them on into their company. And it's a great way for a business to scale. And that's pretty much my passion, is helping other businesses scale. And so that's why I started that agency.
well, we have a lot to talk about in that arena
Yeah.
as well, because I think like I've said, I'm a little bit of an old dog, but I'm still willing to learn some new tricks. So I'd
Yeah,
love to have a side conversation with you about that. I think that's really
absolutely.
intriguing. I think there's so much we can do to I think you think of the world kind of from a disruptor standpoint, and if I'm not
100%.
mistaken, just
Oh
how
yeah.
do how do I do this better? You kind of remind me of my son, who'd be like helping my brother do some landscaping, and he'd be weeding, and he'd be like, there has to be an easier way to do this. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
figure out, I mean, we've done it the same way for 100 years. How do we do things differently? Are you using AI as well in some of the things that you're doing?
Yeah, oh yeah. We use AI in a lot of different facets, but I mean, we try to, or I try to get VAs that work for me that are familiar with AI. I'm no AI expert, but I want them to be learning constantly, and I invest into all my VAs. I'm constantly buying them different courses, editing courses, sales courses, AI courses, stuff like that, on how to implement all these things, because I want them to learn from experts in that field and be able to implement them in my businesses.
Yeah, and so you've got a couple other businesses too, don't you?
Yes, yeah.
So
Yeah, I've got an HVAC company that's local here in Tulsa. And that's the other thing. People are like, "Well, how do you do so much?" And I mean, my answer is I don't. I delegate like crazy. For example, my HVAC company, my operations manager lives in Honduras, and he's the CEO of the company at this point. He runs the show. And so, we have, VAs for all different facets of every company. In my HVAC company, when we do marketing, we have a VA that's a full-time editor that's publishing all our stuff on social media. You should see my Zoom room. It's crazy. We've got like, 20 VAs on there doing all kinds of different things.
Well, I might have to come see that. That sounds
Yeah,
fascinating. I'm
definitely.
wow. Yeah, just I want like a piece of your brain. So I'm gonna save that.
Yeah, no, the cool thing about our agency compared to other agencies too, like for any viewers listening or for you, a lot of agencies out there will charge you to place a VA. We actually don't. We don't have a placement fee at all. So you pretty much, I mean, you have zero risk to even try it out if that's what you're looking for. Because like I said, in the end, my passion is to help businesses scale. That's what gets me fired up. So I'm not looking to make like, get rich quick scheme off of every single client. I want the clients to be successful and actually grow their companies.
Oh, that's so interesting. How does the real estate fit in? What is the investment? Are are you making money in your other businesses and then using that to invest in real estate, or is the real estate a separate company? What's your thought process as to how real estate fits into your, you know, entrepreneurial and investment world?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I mean, the real estate stuff is a separate company. Um, but my real estate game is my long-term wealth game because I am a buy and hold investor. So yes, I am taking active income that I make from my other companies and putting it into real estate because as we all know, real estate is the king of investments. It's the king of tax strategies. It's the best investment that you can make. So that's pretty much, for my kids and for my long-term wealth.
So let's talk about your kids' So,
Yeah.
you know, personally, how has this journey been since you're 18? I'm guessing you're not as old as me. So I don't, can I ask
Yeah.
how old you are?
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't care. I'm 26.
You're 26. Wow.
Yeah,
So the journey, I mean, it's really not been that long since you were in that boys' home.
it
How
hasn't.
journey
Yeah, no.
personally, how have you found your way?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I'm kind of just like a roll with the punches kind of individual. So kind of whatever life throws at me, I just remember that someone else has had it way harder than me. And you know what? I can bitch and moan all I want, but if I don't do anything about it, nothing's going to change. But yeah, I mean, to answer your question on like the personal side, now I have a fiance, I've got a beautiful daughter, and we have a son on the way coming here in August. And so, yeah, I've really grown in my personal life compared to the person that I used to be for sure.
Wow. I think your story is so inspirational, and I think it is easy to get stuck kind of in one place, and to have
Yeah.
that grit to move through that. I mean, it's hard work and grit, right? I mean, what are the secrets?
Yeah, the secret is there is no secret. I mean, at the end of the day, the secret is you got to stop making excuses for yourself and you have to decide in your head that you're going to make a change. I mean, I'll tell you something kind of funny. But early on in my journey, I decided to come up with some non-negotiables like, wake up early, do the work, work out, all these non-negotiables. And I still have the alarm on my phone. And excuse my French, but on the label it says "Get up, you're fucking poor," and that was like what made me get up in the morning. And I mean, it's just simple things like that, how you talk to yourself, you know, things like that. I'm not a proponent of feeling sorry for yourself. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for anybody. And people got to get that stuff out of their headspace because all it's doing is dragging them down.
Wow, that's super inspirational. That's it, yeah, wow. It's it's hard to understand how you could even learn that. Like where does that come from?
Yeah. 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 I don't know. It kind of goes back to the question of like, are entrepreneurs born or bred, And I don't know that I know the answer for that. What I do know is that there's obviously people bred for, being an elite athlete. So maybe it is something that is kind of just in certain people's brains. Because I'm also a believer that not everyone should be an entrepreneur. Not everyone is cut out for it. And But if you're listening to this and you think you are, then I think you should at least try to find out.
Yeah, I think I was definitely born with it. Sometimes I say it's a disease because it's
Yeah,
just,
it is. Yeah.
it'd probably be easier to go work for someone and get a paycheck every other week, but
100%.
I mean, I think when I was a little kid, I was pretending I owned businesses and I was doing all kinds of things. And, I started my first preschool in the neighborhood when I was like 10, I I sent out
Yeah.
announcements to increase my rates as a babysitter, like I sent letters to my clients, like, I don't know
Yeah.
who does
That's
that.
awesome.
So,
Yeah,
I feel like we're kindred spirits that way.
for sure. Yeah, no. And it is, disease like, I mean, I literally have trouble shutting my brain off at night. I mean, that's kind of just something that comes with it, but it's kind of also, I heard this saying once, we're so much more intelligent than the other animals, and is it a blessing or is it a curse? Because our brain can do so many different things, and as we all know, it can go down the dark side too. But I think entrepreneurs, that exact same analogy, is it a blessing or is it a curse?
Well, I think I'm
Because
starting to
we
understand
look at
myself better just listening to you.
yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, and I look at people like I have no aspirations to be a billionaire, but like what is going on in Elon Musk's head? I don't think I want to be inside of his brain. I mean, that probably it seems kind of torturous to me. So there are levels to this as well.
I, I totally agree with that. How that's really astute. The what kind of real estate are you looking for these days? What are you shopping for?
Yeah, right now we're looking for industrial, pretty much in every red state. We're looking at stuff that's at least 10,000 population or more. It's got some credit tenants in the area and mobile home parks. I mean, I'm pretty much looking everywhere for those. And we always are going to be doing single family, but we kind of stick to Tulsa for that.
Sure. Um, Industrial, multi-tenant, single tenant, vacant,
Yeah,
leased.
I don't discriminate. If there's cash flow, if it's a good rate of return, I'm willing to look at it.
It's hard to find those deals. So are you using
Oh
virtual
yeah.
assistants to help you find deals?
Yes, we do. Yeah, we use virtual assistants for a lot of different cold outreach, making networking, all that sort of things. Networking with brokers, all that kind of stuff. But you're right. I mean, commercial has definitely been slow this year. I mean, really, really, really slow. We're gonna have to see when the tides are gonna turn here because no one can buy a 7 cap when interest rates are 7 and 8%. So we'll see. But yeah, we're always looking because there are deals out there, and even in tough environments.
Yeah, they're just harder to find. I was at a conference a couple weeks ago and heard a economist talk about the fact that there could be a generational buying opportunity coming up, with the idea that, you should keep your eyes on, when things start to sell. Prices have adjusted, but sellers haven't adjusted their pricing yet. But
Yep,
when they
exactly.
start to do that, there could be an opportunity and I think you're going to have to move quick, because once you figure out that things are selling and it makes sense again, there's a lot of money sitting on the sidelines, feels like.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, I mean, literally everyone that I know that's a big investor in commercial, they haven't bought in deals for a couple of years at this point. Like everyone is waiting. So yeah, you're definitely gonna have to act quick on these for sure. I mean,
It'll be
probably more
interesting.
than ever.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what comes. And maybe the technology that you're using is the key to maybe getting a leg up on some other folks.
Yeah, well, that's the goal. I'm always trying to get up on a leg up on anyone. So
How do you track building owners and investors and brokers? Like, are you using technology tools to do that?
oh yeah, yeah. We built our own CRM, so we white labeled Go High Level, kind of built our own little software that we use. And we do, I mean, I use that for several different companies because the way that we built it is so unique. We also use ClickUp, if you've heard of that. We use that for several different things as well.
ClickUp?
But yeah, it's all ClickUp. Yep.
Okay.
hmm
I've not
That's
heard of
another really good tool.
that. Okay.
Yeah, it's very similar to what we built. I kind of just found it a little bit later. But yeah, no, I mean, data is gold. You have to keep track of your data, and you have to know how to do that. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I have no idea how to do that, start on YouTube University and start learning how to track data, because data is your friend and emails are your friend, and follow-ups. I mean, what we've built in our CRM, for example, is if we're reaching out to a building owner, right? He's going to get a phone call. He's going to get an email that same day. He's going to get a text message later that afternoon, and he's just on a drip campaign, and it doesn't stop until he tells us to stop or until we land the deal. So I mean, I built that back in my wholesaling company. So we've transferred that over into our new companies.
Well, that's really amazing. And then talk to me about how you underwrite your deals. You know, what's a deal that makes sense to you? What tools are you using to underwrite the opportunities in commercial real estate, or residential? I think is a little different animal, but on the commercial side,
Right.
what are you doing?
Yeah. I mean, on the commercial side, we use Reonomy a lot, which is pretty popular in the commercial world. But I mean, to be honest with you, a lot of it is at first the underwriting is pretty much napkin math. It's these little cheat sheets that I've created too. And it's just doing napkin math, making sure that it's a good return, making sure that if we're raising money for this, are we going to be able to, what percentage are we going to be able to give back to our investors? And from then it's just heavy due diligence. I mean, when you have it under contract and making sure that everything lines up. But I mean, to answer your question, I mean, I'll just say it, even with all these brokers that have probably listened to your show, I'm not the buyer that's going to buy an 8 cap, I mean, especially right now, it just doesn't make any sense. I'm not an ultra wealthy person that needs these huge tax breaks that most brokers work with. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's it's pretty simple. I literally have a spreadsheet called commercial napkin math, because that's kind of how I've even compared the two of like, hey, a super strict underwriting spreadsheet and like my napkin math, and they come out to virtually the same every single time. So I think what's interesting, I may get some slack from this, but I think a lot of people in commercial real estate underwrite stuff way too hard sometimes. And then I think it's good to talk yourself out of a deal, but make sure there's a reason. Make sure, that there's a valid reason. I think a lot of people end up talking themselves out of a deal way too quick because they underwrite super heavy. And I'm not saying, do your operation by the, seat of your pants or whatever, by any means, but, be as risk adverse as you can, and don't shoot yourself in the foot by, being the engineer type mind where you're never going to buy a deal, because all you want to do is just underwrite until you talk yourself out of it.
Wow, that's interesting. The I think I've been guilty of that over the years. Just
Yeah.
trying to overthink things. That, and just not having a big bag of cash to to buy
Right.
a property. There's that.
Yeah.
How many deals do you think you look at before you find one that works on your napkin?
Gosh, at this point, I mean, the numbers are probably so bad because of how slow it is right now. Gosh, I'd say in this current moment, we're probably looking at 50 deals before even getting one under contract at this point. And I mean, that's, getting pretty serious on 50 deals, and then, only landing one out of those 50. I mean, it's just, as you know, and as everyone that's listening knows this, it's just what you were saying earlier, the sellers haven't gotten realistic yet. And with our interest rates and current liquidity environment, it's just things are not penciling. So I think anyone that's looking to get into commercial real estate better be ready for it to be slow right now, because we're not seeing what it was like in 21, 22.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I agree. What do you see? I mean, you've got such a bright future and so much ahead of you. What are the thoughts that are going through your head at night that, are focusing on some of the things that you still have, you're planning to do in the near and long term future?
Yeah, I've got a ton of things on my mind about that. I mean, this year I'm really focused on blowing up my personal brand. I'm getting on, as many shows as I can, speaking at as many events as I can. Um, that's kind of my main focus. And what I plan to do with that is, funnel that into my other businesses and use, become like a hardcore marketer. Think like Grant Cardone-esque type of individual that really uses his following to boost his company. Because my personal belief is if you have a big personal brand, you could start an ice cream truck tomorrow and it'll be worth, 2 million within that same year. Because I think of guys that have giant personal brands, and I really truly believe that they could start any type of company they want and it would be successful. So that's a main focus of mine right now. And right now we're actually rolling out a free VA course that I'm working on right now. If you're listening to this, you can actually go to school.com/VA mastery and get on our free course. It's 100% free. And what we're doing is we're teaching businesses how to use and implement VAs the best way, how to use them for multiple tasks in their businesses. And because we've noticed a lot of people, everyone knows that they need to delegate more, but the problem, and I used to have this problem, is they can't get out of their head of like, how do I do that? What's the best way? If I'm going to dedicate a salary to somebody, I need to be able to figure out how to use them. And so that's our whole goal behind this free course is, hey, here's your free resource on how to do this. And, the man hours that I'm putting behind this, I mean, this course is probably valued at like $10,000, but I'm giving away 100% for free. So we're super excited about that. I think we've got I haven't even talked anything about it. Maybe posted like a link here or there, and we already have like 60 people waiting on the wait list. So it's exciting stuff. I see that to be probably at like 500 to 1,000 members by the end of the year. So we're really looking forward to that.
Well, I plan to we'll share that link in the show notes, and I plan to take a good look at that for sure. That sounds
Yeah,
fascinating.
definitely.
I'm really excited to see all the things that you are going to do in the future, and I feel like we need to meet in person next.
Yeah, we do. I've never been to the Twin Cities, so I need to come up there.
Well, we could probably make that happen. So we should talk about
Yeah,
that for sure.
definitely.
So you talked a little bit about, some people that have inspired you. I can't remember who you just mentioned that has a personal brand, Grant.
Yeah, Grant. Uh-huh.
And are there other people that you're watching that you're, are there podcasts you're listening to? Are there other people that are inspiring you? What should we be filling our head with to try to become a little bit more like you?
Yeah, I mean, I love Andrew Frisella, the founder of First Form Nutrition. He's a little bit more on the vulgar, darker side, which I like. So if you're into that, I would check him out for sure. He's built a billion-dollar supplement company, and he started out by sleeping on a mattress that had, human piss on it for 10 years in a supplement store. So he's definitely got the grittiness to him, and he's built an amazing company now. I like Andy. I like studying even like the older entrepreneurs or conquerors. Like Genghis Khan is someone who fascinates me, even though obviously what he did was horrible. But just the fact that he built a personal brand before anyone could think what the hell internet was, which was incredible. I mean, a freaking Great Wall of China was built because of stories that people had heard of him, and that stuff really fascinates me. Um, Alex Hermosi fascinates me. He's a genius marketer, and he does some really cool stuff with all of his companies. He's actually the owner of School, which is the platform that I have the free VA course on. he's doing some awesome things, and he kind of blew up out of nowhere over the past couple of years. But yeah, I'd say those are the people that inspire me and that I have interest in.
Well, I am just fascinated by your story, by what you've done, and I'm super excited to keep following you. You have a new fan, and
I
I am
appreciate it.
excited to connect with you. Maybe we should have a a meet and greet in Minnesota and give people an opportunity to actually meet you in person.
Yeah, no, I'd love to do that. Sign me up. I'm all for that. So
Well, I really, really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you, and I hope that we connect again really, really soon.
yeah, let's do it. I appreciate you for having me on. Thank you so much.